So I've been using Cloudflare Tunnels for a while to expose some of the services I'm running at home to the public domain. So I can get hold of them, I can access them while I'm out and about, work on projects that otherwise I wouldn't be able to work on because I'm not at home. Now, I'm running Unraid as my platform, and my whole system is behind a pfSense firewall. I'm going to talk you through some of the nuances I've found, some of the challenges I've come across while trying to set this up. There are some steps that you need to follow to expose certain services over others. And in some situations like mine, you might have to run more than one tunnel to be able to expose all the services you'd like to get access to. So let's have a look at it. I'm going to go through a step-by-step guide to show you how you set these up and what services require what kind of tunnels to be exposed. So let's pop on over and let's go through an example. Right then, so here we go. Let's have a look at my server and we can start from there. Here we are on my desktop. Let's bring up Firefox window. So like I said, I'm running Unraid as my backdrop service. So let's just log into my Unraid instance. And as you can see, I've got a number of different Docker containers running various services in here. I prefer using Portainer for actually managing my Docker over the actual built-in systems that are in place. So to start with, let's just grab something from the App Store that I can use to show you exactly what needs to be set up and how that works. So for this, I'm going to use Nextcloud. So we're going to go ahead and just grab it off the App Store here for us to be able to use. Now I've already got Nextcloud installed, so I'm not going to hit the install button, but we'll just come on over here and just get it running. Right, here we go. Nextcloud is up and running. So let's just have a look at the web UI, see if we can load it up. There we go. Great. So Nextcloud's running. Obviously, don't have a login set up. It's a fresh installation. So let's pop back over to Portainer to get things up and running. Obviously, I've got over here in Portainer, I've got a number of tunnels already running, but I'm going to create a fresh tunnel so we can have a look at it together. So let's hop on over to Cloudflare and get that tunnel up and running. There we go, over to Zero Trust. Again, I'm not going to go through each step here. Plenty of tutorials and example videos out there showing you exactly how to do this in a much more cohesive manner. But I'm going to create a new tunnel. So let's just create a brand new tunnel for us to use. I'm going to use, of course, the Cloudflared tunnel. I'm going to give it a name. So this will be a temporary tunnel that I'm going to use. I'm going to save that tunnel. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using Docker. I'm going to copy over the command, and site that I like very much using is converting these Docker run commands into an actual Docker compose, which is what we'll end up using here. So, and just paste that in here. Now, I'm not too worried. I'm going to be getting rid of this token anyway right after. So this piece of work. So I'm going to grab hold of all of this and move it into my Portainer. I'm going to get into my stack here, and what we'll do is we will create a new stack entry where I've got my URL in there, and I'm going to give this a new name. Again, I'll call it my temporary Cloudflared tunnel. All right, and then let's go ahead and deploy it. All right, so there we go. Cloudflare has been deployed. Of course, it has wiped out my other tunnels, but we can go back and fix that in a minute. So let's have a look. Here's our container running. It's got its own, it's running in, if you have a look at the IP address, it's running within its own little IP range. And there we have. If I now try to expose any one of my services, so let's have a look at our Nextcloud service here that's running. It's got its own little IP address. So I'm just going to copy that over, and we'll come on over here back into Cloudflare and we'll start this up. So test site. I'm going to use my domain here. And because, again, Nextcloud is running on an HTTP, we'll expose the HTTP right there. I've just pasted in the URL, the IP address with the ports, so we can use that. So we're going to go ahead and save that. Right, so now we've saved that. The tunnel, as you can see, is giving us a nice healthy status here, which is great. If we now go to this site that we've just created, here we are. Amazingly, we've now loaded it up, which is great. So perfect. This works fine, right? Well, now let's try just slightly changing our Docker container for our Nextcloud. Have a look at what happens next. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to edit this, the Nextcloud settings. This time, instead of running it on the bridge network, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on my custom BR0 main network. I will give it its own little IP address. So for now, just because I like to know what the IP is, I'm going to give it an IP address of 1110 and go ahead and save that. Now let's have that deploy. Come on through. There we go, all done. Let's hit done. Right, so that's gone ahead and deployed. Let's have a look locally. As we can see, locally it's running fine. The service is up and running. We no longer have the original IP address, so this time I'm going to have to take that IP address. Let's go back to our tunnel and just edit our site. So into 3 buttons and hit edit. I'm going to change that URL this time to reflect the new IP address that we have, which in my case is 10.10.0.110, and we're going to save that. Here we go. I'm going to have a look, make sure that tunnel is still running. Tunnel is still nice and healthy. So we'll come over here and try and hit this site. You can give it a second. What you're going to find is suddenly it's a bad gateway. So for quite a while, it took me quite some time to figure out exactly why this was happening. After much testing and quite a lot of painstaking work, I came to realize it was a networking issue. So if I wanted Cloudflare Tunnels to work with this new network setup, I would need to do something differently. So let's have a look at what I did differently. As I showed you before, the container, our Cloudflare container that I've got here, is running on a specific network, has its own address. If I come over here, now I was to go ahead and edit this container and get down to the network settings, actually change the network to be on the BR0 network, and I'll give it its own IP address again. So just to make it nice and easy, we use 111 and go ahead and hit deploy. This will, of course, replace the existing running tunnel that we've got with a new tunnel that needs configuring. Luckily, of course, I've got it all configured out, so this shouldn't be a problem. Right, there we go. That's deployed. Now, if we go back again, have a look at our tunnel. I'm just going to refresh the page. What we should see is that the tunnel is still healthy, which is good. We're going to go ahead and refresh this. There we go. Miraculously, the server's back up. So what you need to make sure is when you've got your tunnel running, that the tunnel is running on the same network as the service that you're trying to expose. So if I actually went ahead and tried to change this back to being within the Unraid server, I would find a problem. Now here's another interesting nuance. Because the Unraid server itself is running on running on the main network, if I actually go to my tunnel here and I add a new site, we'll add a new public domain. We're going to call this test Unraid. Make sure that that's spelled right. This time, I'm going to expose an HTTPS because obviously my Unraid server is running on HTTPS, as you can see right there. And my server is running on that IP range. One thing to remember, because it's locally running on HTTPS, you do need to hit the additional settings and turn on no TLS verify. I'm going to hit save and give it a second for our new domain to be set up. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to my new test Unraid. Right, and what we're going to find is that it's not going to be able to find it. After quite a lot of trying, what we get is we get this host error. That's because, unlike the service that we're running that is no longer on the same network, the host network is separated. To be able to expose the host service, I need to have a separate tunnel. I hope you found that useful to see how you expose different services that you will have running. And for me, on my Unraid server, the different networks that I have to use. You'll end up probably having multiple tunnels running, like I do. I would very much recommend securing these tunnels. There are videos and tutorials out there on exactly how to do that. We'll have a video coming out on how you do that from us as well, and the steps we took to secure various types of tunnels, and how you use tunnels to access things like databases, not just websites. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video.